Russia dumping its convicts and criminals into Africa, disguised as Russian military. This is dangerous for Africa. What's up, everybody? I hope you're doing good. It's a beautiful day. Thank you very much for stopping by. You're very much appreciated. As you can see, I just woke up, but I've been bothered by something. I've been thinking, could somebody come into your house, be very friendly with you, and later on be doing something that's advantageous to them without you knowing about it? I mean, there's us discussing about me helping you, that is one thing. If we clear with one another, if we're transparent, if you tell me I have an issue, I can provide this for you, provided you can help me get my leprosy off my skin. I can provide a service for you, provided you give me money. That's one thing. But you offering me to help me do something, to fix my house, to fix my problem, then expect me to give you money without us, prior to that, having a discussion about the financials that come with it. I think that's a bit weird and tricky. Now, I was going through the internet and surfing, this is where you get your stuff from Africa. This is where you get your stuff from Africa. You want news from Africa, this is where you want to be, trust me. No, I like the other YouTube channels, they're very nice, but this is where you want to be, no doubt about it. Going through the internet searching, and what I found was very interesting, okay? They are saying that the Russians are sending people in Africa disguised as troops, disguised as Wagner, but these troops are actually criminals in Russia, convict. And the reason why they're doing that is because they don't expect those people to go back to Russia. They expect them to stay in Africa forever. Are you ready? Let's go through this. So, concerns over reports that Russia is sending ex-convicts disguised as mercenary forces in Africa. So, first of all, this is read from, mainstream news. Okay, I think we need to go through this. I know probably you are thinking already, like, things that come from mainstream are usually lies. Okay, I don't necessarily disagree with you, but I think thinking that everything is a lie just because it comes from mainstream, it's also not very smart. You gotta go through things and actually examine for yourself and pull your own conclusion. Mainstream says some African leaders have voiced concern that Russia may be deploying ex-convicts as mercenary forces to Africa, a move that could lead to an increase in violent crime rates across the continent. Do you agree with this? Let's continue. The concern stems from report that many Russian mercenary forces currently deployed in Africa were ex-convicts initially recruited to fight on the Ukrainian front. So, yes, there was a time where Russia needed more force, okay, and a lot of Russian men did not necessarily want to go to war in Ukraine, and it became a bit difficult. Then, for those of you who remember, Russia offered some money to people to come and join the army, and after offering the money, they went to convict into prison, selected prisoners, asking them if they wanted to join the army, with the possibilities of leaving prison after army. Okay, so you serve the nation, you fight for Russia in Ukraine, and later on you get paid and you're gonna be freed. That's a good, interesting offer. Think about somebody who's been in prison, who's been condemned for 40 years, 30 years, or even 20 years, getting an opportunity to go fight, of course with the chances of being unalived, but then later on you're gonna be freed after being paid. A lot of people who are convicted for many, many years will probably take the opportunity. So many people, violent criminals, many people were hired. We all know that. This has nothing to do with mainstream. Let's continue. The report revealed that an estimated 50,000 convicts were recruited in the war against Ukraine. Wagner Group has been integrated into mercenary forces operating in Burkina Faso, Libya, Mali, Niger, and Central African Republic, and Mozambique. Now, we also know that the war in Ukraine is coming to a low, okay? With Donald Trump coming in, they had a beautiful discussion with Putin, and it feels like things are going to go off very soon. What are Vladimir Putin going to do with the convict? Is he going to send them back to their society? It's very dangerous. Imagine somebody that used to unalive people in your neighborhood, okay? And you played a major role in getting the government to arrest him. You played the big role to getting the police to put them hands on him. He's been in jail. He knows you, Mustafa, or you, Tandega, or you, John, played a major role into getting him arrested. And been freed, he's fought wars, and now he's back. Do you think he'll forget the 10 years that he spent in jail after you helped the police arrest him? No. And also, do you really think Russia wants those convicts back in the society just because they fought for the army? I mean, there may be a level of people, a number of people that have changed, okay? They don't want to do bad anymore because jail teaches you a lesson. It's either you become a good person or you become even worse because it's an addiction. You know, crime is usually just an addiction, it's like drugs. So it's a 50-50 position. Should Africa be worried because Russia has moved many of these people into Africa? They're not necessarily fighting in Ukraine anymore because they have support from the North Koreans. Some of the guys have been moved to Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, Mozambique, Central Republic Africa. Is this something to worry about? Well, there have been other reports of Wagner doing crime in Central Africa. You know, reports of investigation strongly indicated that Wagner Group and Russian private military company has been involved in serious human rights abuse and potential war crimes in Central African Republic. Apparently, there have been extrajudicial killing and massacre. There have been reports that Wagner mercenary killing civilians, including women and children, in villages and towns. One notable incident is the report of massacre of Igbaldo in January 2022, where dozens of civilians were unalived. Wagner mercenaries have been accused of torturing and ill-treating civilians suspected of supporting rebel groups. So, Wagner, they say, unalive some civilians that were supposedly supporting rebel groups. Now the question is, if the army goes somewhere and they're fighting the rebels that are unaliving people, and all of a sudden the army noticed that you were actually supporting the rebels in unaliving other people, how will the army treat you? I'm just asking. The army is fighting against rebels. They get into town and they found you. You were supporting the rebels by showing the targets, by showing the places, by placing the mines. What are the chances it's going to hurt you? I'm just saying, do they have the right to do that? Probably not. It's war crime, right? But what are the chances that somebody's going to probably do it? There are slight chances. Somebody's unstable, is going to pull you in a corner, and you're going to unalive you, and nobody's going to say anything about it. Now, should we be worried that Russians who are criminals, Russians that are ex-convicts, will be doing mayhem in Africa? Big question mark. Let me just remind you here, okay? So in Uganda a while back, something happened when the Americans were chased from Afghanistan, because they were chased from America. You know that. Americans were chased from Afghanistan. They ran away after 20 years of fighting in Afghanistan because Afghans don't play. By the time they were leaving, there were many Afghans that helped Americans, you know, in Afghanistan. And when the Taliban came back, they were going to unalive those people because Taliban don't play. I mean, just imagine you've helped Americans in our land. What happened was those Taliban pleaded to America to allow them to travel with them back to America. Now, what happened? In August 2021, the US government asked Uganda to temporarily host 2,000 Afghan refugees while the application for resettlement in the US and other countries were processed. Yes, you know, they obviously snitched on their own brothers for the interest of Americans. They were scared. They needed support. Now, America didn't want to take them back to America. They said, no, okay, you've cheated and lied and supported us against your own brothers. Now your brothers are coming back. They're probably going to unalive you. But we're not taking you back with us to America. We're going to send you to Uganda in Africa. Okay, so from Uganda, we're going to process your visas. We're going to process your request to come to America, whether you actually qualify or not. Now, this was supposed to be a temporary measure to provide safe haven for Afghans who were at risk due to their association with the United States or the vulnerable status. Now, I don't know what happened. Obviously, they promised money to Uganda, keep the Afghans for some time. And I remember many Ugandans were against it because, I mean, why do you want to keep Afghans in your neighborhood? Because if they leave Afghanistan, what are the chances later on they will say, no, actually, we don't want to be run by blacks. How about we keep this part of the land for ourselves? So we can all be Muslims, extreme or whatever. We can do our own things because we don't like the matokes and the poshos and the granats, all the food that Ugandans eat. They can stay in that side of Kampala and this side of Kampala is ours. That's the danger. Many people stood against that. I don't know what happened later. I don't know if the government got money from that. Well, if they got money from that, then good for them. I don't know if the Afghans were sent to Uganda. I doubt it because, or else we would have seen them. Now, the other issue is, Many years ago, in Second World War, there was a group of people in Europe. You don't name those people. When you say their name, yeah, you get cancelled. Those people were moved from Europe back to space in the Middle East because they wanted to give them some land to themselves. When they went from all these countries in Europe, France, Belgium, Germany, Poland, they were all taken by ships to the Middle East in Palestine. They sat there. There was visitors settling. Now, many years forward, today those people are controlling that site, kicking away the people that they met in that place. Now, is this something we should be worried about as African on Russian criminals that are being sent to Africa functioning as Wagners? Now, number one. Number two, is this information completely wrong just because it comes from mainstream media? Question mark. Let me know how you feel about this. It was a great pleasure. God bless.